Have you ever had a moment where you knew exactly what you needed to do, but you didn't do it? You knew you should speak up in the meeting, but you stayed quiet. You knew you should get out of bed, but you hit snooze. You knew you should make the call, apply for the job, or hit the gym, but you hesitated, and the moment was gone. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In the 5-second rule, Mel Robbins delivers a simple, life-altering truth. You are just 5 seconds away from a completely different life. Backed by neuroscience and built on real-world results, the 5-second rule is a mental trick that interrupts your brain's default patterns of fear, doubt, and procrastination, and launches you into immediate action. No fluff, no motivation speeches, no gimmicks. Just one simple habit. Count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. This audiobook summary unpacks the core idea behind the 5-second rule, how it works in your brain, and why it's helped millions of people change their lives, from building confidence, to beating anxiety, to breaking bad habits and seizing bold opportunities. Whether you're stuck in a rut, scared to take that next step, or simply tired of holding yourself back, this one idea could change everything. So if you're ready to stop overthinking, start acting, and finally take control of your life with everyday courage, your breakthrough is only 5 seconds away. The 5-second rule. Transform your life, work, and confidence with Everyday Courage by Mel Robbins is more than just a motivational book. It's a science-backed, no-nonsense tool to help you stop overthinking, break the cycle of procrastination, and take control of your life, one decision at a time. In this groundbreaking book, Mel Robbins introduces a deceptively simple method that has transformed millions of lives around the world. The concept is so straightforward you might almost miss its power. When you have an instinct to act on a goal, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move. That's it. No fancy equipment, no complicated steps. Just a countdown and an action. Yet behind this small habit lies a massive shift in how you approach fear, hesitation, and daily choices. Mel Robbins created the 5-second rule during one of the lowest points in her life, struggling with anxiety, financial problems, and a lack of motivation. She realized that hesitation was destroying her confidence and progress. So she made a decision. The moment she felt resistance or doubt, she'd count backward from 5 and physically move or speak up. That simple act activated the brain's prefrontal cortex, interrupted patterns of avoidance, and forced her into action. It worked, and now her method is being used by CEOs, athletes, teachers, parents, and students worldwide. But the 5-second rule is not just about doing more. It's about becoming more courageous, more disciplined, more confident, more intentional. Robbins dives into the psychology and neuroscience behind habit formation, fear, and confidence, showing how our brains are wired to resist change, and how a 5-second decision can override that resistance and rewire your behavior. Whether you want to stop hitting snooze, start speaking up in meetings, overcome anxiety, pursue a new goal, or simply break bad habits and create better ones, this book gives you the tools and the push to do it. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start, and this book teaches you how. At Detailed Book Summaries, we bring you powerful, actionable insights from life-changing books like this, condensed into high-impact summaries you can learn and apply right away. This summary of the 5-second rule will give you everything you need to understand and use this transformational technique in your own life. Ready to silence self-doubt, stop overthinking, and take bold action toward your goals? Then keep listening. This method might just be the push you've been waiting for. Tap like if you believe in the power of simple daily courage. Hit subscribe so you never miss a summary that could change your life. And be sure to share this with someone who needs a little extra motivation today. Chapter 1. The Discovery That Changed Everything. Mel Robbins didn't set out to change the world with a countdown. She didn't plan to build a global movement, coach millions, or become a best-selling author. She just wanted to stop hitting the snooze button. At a time when her life was spiraling, financial pressures mounting, her marriage under stress, her career flatlining, she wasn't looking for a miracle. She was looking for anything that could help her regain control. She woke up every morning with a pit in her stomach. Despite going to bed each night promising herself she'd turn things around, she'd still hit snooze the next morning. Again and again. Days blurred together with no progress. And it wasn't laziness. It was paralysis. She knew what she had to do. Get up, show up, fix things. but the gap between intention and action felt impossibly wide. Then one night, watching a rocket launch on TV, Mel saw something that shifted everything. The countdown. 3, 2, 1, and go. That visual, so simple, so direct, lodged itself in her brain. What if she treated getting out of bed the same way? No thinking, no negotiating, just count down then move. The next morning as her alarm rang, she tried it. 3, 2, 1. And she stood up. No snooze, no delay, just action. Seemed almost ridiculous, but it worked. And so she tried it again, and again, and again, and something started to shift. She wasn't just getting out of bed earlier. She was interrupting the mental chatter, the excuses, the overthinking, the fear that had been holding her back. That tiny moment between a thought and a decision suddenly had a name. The 5-second rule. Here's how it works. The moment you feel an instinct to act on a goal, whether it's getting out of bed, speaking up, starting a workout, or making a tough phone call, you count backward from 5. 5-4-3-2-1. Then you move. No hesitation. No debate. Just action. What sounds like a silly trick is actually backed by science. Counting backwards distracts your brain just enough to shift control from the part of your mind that sabotages you to the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and goal-oriented behavior. That split-second shift is all it takes to change your behavior, your mindset, and eventually your life. The rule works because it's a form of what psychologists call a starting ritual. A starting ritual primes your brain for action. It's the spark that lights the fire. And unlike motivation, which is fleeting and unreliable, the 5-second rule is always available. It doesn't require inspiration. It only requires that you act. Mel began using the rule for everything. Tough conversations, resisting bad habits, launching new ideas, facing fears. And she realized something profound. Courage isn't a personality trait. It's a skill, a muscle, one that you build every time you take action in the face of resistance. And the beauty of the 5-second rule? It gives you a way to practice that courage every single day, in every moment that matters. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to feel confident. You just have to count down and go. Chapter 2. How I discovered the 5-second rule. Most breakthroughs don't happen in a lab or a boardroom. They happen in real life when your back is against the wall and you've run out of excuses. That's where Mel Robbins found herself. At rock bottom, with no magic coming to save her. The bills were piling up, the marriage was tense, and her career had stalled out. She was stuck, trapped in a life that looked fine from the outside but felt like it was crumbling from the inside. Each morning felt like a war zone. Her alarm would go off, and instead of springing into action, she'd spiral. Negative thoughts, self-doubt, fear, regret. It all hit her before her feet even touched the floor. She knew she needed to get up, take control, start changing things. But her brain, it wanted to stay in bed. It wanted to avoid delay and hope things would somehow fix themselves. Then came that one random night. A rocket launch on television. Something about it caught her attention, not the technology or the fire or the science. It was the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 liftoff. And it sparked a strange idea. What if you launched yourself out of bed the same way? Count down, then act. It sounded silly, childish even, but desperate times call for weird ideas. So she tried it. The next morning when the alarm rang, instead of hitting snooze, she counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. She stood up. No hesitation. No overthinking. She just moved. That one act changed everything. It was a small win, but it gave her back a sense of control. And that's what she'd lost the most. Over time, she began to apply the rule to other parts of her life. When fear crept in before making a difficult phone call, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. When self-doubt made her hesitate to speak up in meetings, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, speak. When procrastination hit while trying to work on her goals, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. Every time she counted down, she interrupted the part of her brain that wanted to keep her stuck. It didn't just help her get moving, it gave her power. Because the truth is, motivation is a myth. If you wait to feel ready, you'll never do it. That's what Mel realized. You don't feel like doing hard things. You don't want to have the awkward conversation or make the risky move or go to the gym after a long day. But that's exactly why you need the rule. The 5-second rule isn't about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of fear. It's not about being confident. It's about building confidence through action. And that shift from waiting to acting is the very thing that begins to transform your life. Mel didn't invent the rule in some high-powered self-help seminar. She discovered it while trying to save her own life. And in doing so, she uncovered something that anyone can use, anytime, anywhere. It's not about magic or motivation. It's about momentum. When you count down, you push yourself out of autopilot and into intentional action. And that's where change happens. One decision at a time. One moment of courage. One launch. So when you feel stuck, scared, or uncertain, don't wait. Don't analyze. Don't argue with yourself. Just count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And move. Because the moment you move, everything changes. Chapter 3. What you can expect when you use it. There's a moment just 5 seconds long where everything in your life can begin to change. You probably won't notice it at first. Feels small. Unimpressive even. Just a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 go. But the moment you act, the moment you do instead of thinking yourself into paralysis, that's where the shift begins. Mel Robbins makes it painfully clear. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never do a damn thing. Our brains are hardwired to resist change, to seek comfort, to play it safe. So the 5-second rule is not about inspiration or motivation. It's not some rara technique. It's about interruption. It's a habit-breaking tool disguised as a simple countdown. And once you start using it consistently, here's what begins to happen. You start taking control. Not of the world, because that's impossible, but of yourself. Of your choices. Of your next move. Instead of waiting for the fear to fade, you push through it. Instead of overthinking every decision, you cut the noise with action. You begin to override the lazy, fearful, procrastinating voice in your head with boldness. With decisiveness. You start doing things before your mind can talk you out of them. That's power. That's ownership. And as you build this habit, this tiny muscle of action, something else begins to rise. Confidence. Not fake loud confidence. Not Instagram quotes or motivational fluff. But real hard-earned belief in yourself. The kind that comes from seeing yourself follow through. You say, I'll speak up today, and you actually do it. You say, I'll go to the gym, and you move. Not because you felt like it, but because you acted. That's how confidence is born. Not from success, but from action. The truth is, the rule is a courage trigger. That's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't eliminate fear. It pushes you through it. And not in dramatic Hollywood ways. In micro moments. You hit snooze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get up. You want to avoid the hard conversation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speak. You're scared to send the pitch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Send. Over and over, these tiny moments stack up. They start rewiring your identity. You're no longer someone who hesitates. You're someone who moves. But you should expect resistance. Oh, it'll come. You'll say, this is stupid. You'll think, I'll start tomorrow. You'll convince yourself the moment isn't right. That's your brain fighting for its old routine. It will beg for comfort, familiarity, the safe zone. That's normal. But the rule doesn't need you to feel ready. It needs you to act anyway. And here's what might surprise you. This works even when you don't believe it will. The rule isn't magic. It's mechanics. Your brain understands countdowns. They signal action, urgency. That's why NASA uses them. So when you count down and move, you interrupt the default script. You shut the door on doubt and give yourself a window to be brave. The results? They're real. Maybe not instant, but over time undeniable. You'll wake up earlier. You'll stop snoozing on your goals, literally and metaphorically. You'll send that application. Start that conversation. Take that first step. Not because you were fearless, but because you stopped waiting for fear to leave. And this is Mel's most radical promise. You are just one decision away from a completely different life. That decision happens in 5 seconds. That's it. No guru, no miracle. Just you choosing to act when it matters. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to count down and move. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally doing what you've always known you were capable of, before your brain gets in the way. The 5-second rule isn't a trick. It's a tool. Use it. Chapter 4: Why the Rule Works. Let's get one thing straight. The 5-second rule isn't motivational fluff. It works because it taps into something real, your brain's wiring. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about science, habit loops, and the raw mechanics of how your mind operates. Mel Robbins doesn't sugarcoat it. Your brain is designed to protect you, not push you. It's great at keeping you safe, but absolutely terrible at helping you grow. Here's how the rule cuts through all that noise. Every time you have an instinct to act on a goal, whether it's to speak up, hit the gym, apply for a job, or simply get out of bed, you have a 5-second window before your mind sabotages you. That's it. 5 seconds before the excuses kick in. Before your brain floods you with reasons to stay put. Before fear, doubt, and inertia take over. So what does the rule do? It interrupts that mental pattern. By counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you force your brain to shift gears. You stop the default autopilot and wake up the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, planning, and goal setting. It's like yanking the emergency brake on negative thought loops. The countdown triggers something similar to a rocket launch, a shift from thought to action. NASA doesn't count up to launch. They count down. Why? Because countdowns are a cue for decisive movement. The same thing happens in your brain when you use the rule. It becomes your internal launchpad, moving you from thinking to doing. That's the secret sauce. It's not about hyping yourself up. It's not about manifesting your goals. It's about breaking the habit of hesitation. That's the habit that's killing your dreams. The habit of hesitating when you know you should act. The rule replaces that hesitation with action, every single time. Now, Robbins is brutally honest about this. The rule doesn't make the fear go away. You'll still feel anxious, nervous, awkward. But here's the thing, you don't have to feel brave to be brave. Courage is action, not emotion. And the rule gives you a simple, repeatable way to practice courage in the smallest, most everyday decisions. Want to build self-discipline? Use the rule. Want to stop procrastinating? Use the rule. Want to finally take control of your life instead of watching it pass by? Yep, use the rule. Why does it work across so many areas of life? Because it rewires your behavior at the root level. You're not just thinking differently, you're acting differently. And every time you act differently, even in tiny ways, your brain begins to reprogram itself. You become the kind of person who moves, the kind who starts, the kind who finishes. And once you see it working in one area, say waking up early, you'll start using it everywhere. In meetings, at the gym, in tough conversations. It's contagious. Your confidence grows not because you've reached some magical state of motivation, but because you see yourself consistently following through. The rule also breaks the cycle of overthinking. That endless spiral where you analyze everything, get overwhelmed, and end up doing nothing. 5, 4, 1 interrupts the loop. It shuts it down. It snaps you out of what if and into what now. Here's the bottom line. The 5-second rule works because it gives you a simple, reliable, science-backed tool to do the one thing that changes everything: take action. It cuts through fear. It overrides habit. It triggers courage. No excuses. No overthinking. No waiting for the right time. Just 5 seconds. Then go. Chapter 5: Everyday Courage. Courage. Most people think it's a big, dramatic act. Running into a burning building or standing up to a bully. But Mel Robbins strips that illusion away in Chapter 5. She says courage isn't some rare trait reserved for heroes. No. Courage is a choice, one you make in 5-second windows dozens of times a day. It's not about changing the world. It's about changing your moment. Robbins calls this everyday courage. It's the kind you need to speak up in a meeting, ask for help, tell the truth, stop scrolling, apply for that job, or say no when everything in you wants to avoid conflict. Courage doesn't come with a loud bang. It sneaks up on you in the small moments you'd usually ignore. And this is where the 5-second rule becomes your superpower. See, we tend to wait until we feel confident, prepared, or fearless before we act. But here's the reality. Those feelings rarely come first. Action comes first. Confidence comes later. The rule flips that broken equation on its head. It teaches you to act before your brain has the chance to shut it down. It teaches you that you don't need to feel ready. You just need to move. You know those moments when you feel something stir inside? That flicker of instinct that says, speak up, or go for it, or say yes. That's your inner wisdom talking. And it's almost always followed by a wave of doubt, hesitation, and fear. The rule helps you catch that window, cut through the fear, and act anyway. That's courage in its rawest form. And here's where Robbins gets personal. She shares stories, not of grand triumphs, but of ordinary people doing brave things in ordinary moments. A woman who left a toxic relationship after years of fear. A man who raised his hand and finally pitched his idea at work. A student who stood up against bullying. None of them felt ready. None of them felt fearless. But all of them used the rule. Courage, Mel insists, is not the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. That's the entire game. And when you practice this kind of everyday courage consistently, your life starts to shift. You stop waiting. You stop overthinking. You stop making fear your master. You build a track record of small wins. And that's what reshapes your identity. It's not magic. It's momentum. Robbins also reminds us that courage is contagious. When you use the rule and act boldly, even in small ways, you give other people permission to do the same. Your 5-second act of courage might be the spark someone else needs to stop playing small. It's not just about you. It never was. Everyday courage is waking up and facing what you'd rather avoid. It's making the call, asking the question, saying yes or no when your voice shakes. It's choosing to act, especially when it's uncomfortable. And the rule? It's your trigger, your launch code, your way to beat the excuses and do the damn thing. So here's the truth Mel drives home. If you're waiting to feel courageous, you'll be waiting forever. But if you want to be courageous, you've got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Chapter 6. What are you waiting for? Let's get brutally honest. What are you waiting for? A sign? Permission? The perfect moment? Chapter 6 hits you hard because Mel Robbins doesn't sugarcoat it. She looks you straight in the eye and asks the question you've been avoiding. And it's not rhetorical. She wants you to answer it. You say you want change. You want more. A new job, better health, deeper relationships, more confidence, more freedom, more money, more impact. But then nothing. You hesitate. You stall. You wait. And that's the trap. You don't need more time. You don't need a bigger plan. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Now, Mel says this moment right here where you feel resistance, anxiety, maybe even shame, that's the edge. And it's where most people retreat. But it's also the exact spot where breakthroughs are born. You're standing at the edge of change, and all that's separating you from action is a 5-second decision. She walks us through what's really happening in our heads. We don't fail because we're lazy or weak or broken. We fail because our brains are hardwired to protect us. The moment we sense risk, discomfort, or potential failure, the prefrontal cortex shuts us down with doubts, rationalizations, and fear. The irony? Most of the things we're afraid of, judgment, rejection, uncertainty, aren't actually dangerous. They just feel that way. And the only way to beat that system is to interrupt it. That's where the 5-second rule comes in like a mental defibrillator. It jolts your brain out of autopilot. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you act before the excuses flood in. Now here's the killer part. Mel says the more you wait, the stronger the habit of hesitation becomes. It's like a muscle. You either train yourself to hesitate or train yourself to move. There's no middle ground. Every moment of hesitation reinforces the story that you're stuck, that you're not good enough, that life just happens to you. But when you move, even when it's messy, awkward, or uncertain, you take your power back. You rewrite the narrative. She shares story after story of people who stopped waiting and used the rule to shift everything. A guy who finally started writing his book. A woman who got off the couch and lost 60 pounds. A teenager who quit vaping. A mom who launched a business after years of dreaming about it. None of them had a perfect plan, but they had one tool, and they used it. And Robbins is clear. Using the rule doesn't guarantee success. You might still fail. You might still stumble. But you will not be stuck. And that's the win. Momentum is everything. One small act of courage triggers another, then another. It compounds. And slowly but surely your life begins to change. Mel closes this chapter with a reality check. There is no right time. There is only now. If you're waiting for confidence, it's not coming. If you're waiting to feel like it, you won't. If you're waiting for the fear to disappear, you'll wait forever. So she brings us back to the mirror. What are you waiting for? Because if you really want change, if you're done making excuses and playing small, then it starts here. One thought, one moment, one 5-second decision. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Chapter 7. You'll never feel like it. Here's a truth that smacks you right in the face. You'll never feel like it. That's it. That's the big secret to why you keep procrastinating, stalling, hesitating, and putting your dreams on hold. Mel Robbins lays it bare in this chapter. If you're waiting to feel motivated, inspired, or ready, you're going to be waiting forever. Let that sink in. You'll never feel like it. Your brain isn't designed for change. It's built for survival. It's a machine programmed to keep you safe, conserve energy, and avoid anything that feels hard, uncertain, or uncomfortable. So guess what happens every time you consider stepping outside your comfort zone? Your brain slams the brakes. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. And this is where most people get stuck. They confuse their feelings with facts. They think, if I don't feel like doing it, it must not be the right time. Or maybe I'm not ready. But Robbins dismantles that lie with brutal honesty. Feelings are not a roadmap. They're a reaction, a defense mechanism. And if you let them dictate your choices, you'll never build the life you want. Think about how often this happens in your day-to-day life. You don't feel like getting out of bed. You don't feel like working out. You don't feel like making that hard phone call or applying for that opportunity. So you don't. And every time you give in, you reinforce the habit of inaction. But here's the wild part. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to act. That's where the 5-second rule becomes your personal revolution. It bypasses emotion. You don't negotiate. You don't overthink. You just count. 5, 4, 3, 1. And move. Mel shares her own struggles in this chapter. How she didn't feel like getting out of bed after her life collapsed. How she didn't feel like facing the debt, the fights, the shame. But the rule helped her override that emotional resistance and act anyway. And the more she acted, the more she changed. This is the muscle we have to build. It's not about motivation. It's about courage. The courage to move when you don't feel like it. The courage to speak up, to show up, to do the work even when it's inconvenient. Robbins says this is what separates people who talk about change from people who actually create it. Because here's the truth. High performers, elite athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, they don't magically feel motivated every day. They just move. They've trained themselves to act despite their feelings. They use rituals, systems, and tools like the 5-second rule to override the part of the brain that screams, stop. And here's where it gets real. If you only act when you feel like it, your life will shrink. But if you act when you don't feel like it, your life will expand. Mel ends the chapter with a simple but powerful idea. If you accept that you'll never feel like it, and you stop waiting for the feeling to come, you're free. Free to build discipline. Free to take risks. Free to change your life. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with motivation. It's filled with action. So the next time you hear that voice whisper, I don't feel like it, you know what to do. Count down. 5, 4, 3, 1. And go. Chapter 8. How to start using the rule. Now that you know what's been holding you back, your feelings, your hesitation, your overthinking, it's time to flip the switch. Chapter 8 is where Mel Robbins pulls you off the sidelines and pushes you into action. This chapter isn't theory, it's the launchpad. So how do you actually start using the 5-second rule? It's shockingly simple. And that's why it works. Here's the formula. Whenever you feel an instinct to act on a goal, or a moment of hesitation creeps in, count backward. 5, 4, 3, 1. And move. That's it. You interrupt the autopilot system in your brain and take manual control. You override the fear, the doubt, the excuses, the delay. Robbins breaks down why this countdown works so well. Your brain is wired to operate on habits. It loves patterns, routines, and default settings. But when you start counting backward, you interrupt that default loop. You engage the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that takes charge, makes decisions, and focuses attention. In other words, you shift from autopilot to intentional action instantly. But Mel's also clear. This rule is not magic. It's not going to solve all your problems in one countdown. This is about pattern breaking and momentum building. The rule gives you a window, a narrow gap between thought and action, and if you act in that window, you start changing your behavior and then your life. She gives everyday examples that are painfully relatable. You're about to hit snooze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet on the floor. You want to speak up in a meeting but you're hesitating? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Raise your hand. You're procrastinating on a tough email or avoiding a workout. 5, 4, 3, 1. Open the laptop, lace up the shoes. Small moves, yes, but powerful ones, because they break inertia. And here's the kicker. The rule builds trust in yourself. Every time you use it, every time you take control instead of defaulting to delay, you send yourself a powerful message. I do what I say I'll do. That's confidence in motion. But Robbins also warns us not to expect instant miracles. Change takes repetition. You've got to use the rule over and over until it becomes your own autopilot, a habit loop that works for you, not against you. The more you use it, the faster you build resilience, mental toughness, and the ability to act in spite of fear. She also suggests writing down the moments in your day where you tend to hesitate. Where do you stall? Where do you chicken out? Where do you choose comfort over growth? Then use those as your training ground. Every hesitation is an invitation. Every pause is a chance to push. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life in a day. Begin with the little battles. Get out of bed without hitting snooze. Make that one call. Send that one email. Ask that one question. Count down. Move. Win. One action. One moment. One decision at a time. Because using the 5-second rule doesn't just help you get things done. It reshapes your identity. You become someone who takes action. Who doesn't wait to feel ready. Who doesn't let fear decide. This chapter is the turning point. It's where you stop thinking about change and start living it. So what's that thing you've been putting off? That habit you've been trying to start? That risk you've been too scared to take? Count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, Chapter 9, The Power of Courage. Courage isn't what you think it is. It's not some massive act of bravery. It's not climbing Everest or jumping out of planes. It's not reserved for superheroes. In Chapter 9, Mel Robbins flips the script and tells us something real. Courage is a 5-second decision. That's it. Courage is deciding, in that tiny window between thought and action, to do the thing anyway. To move even when fear is whispering all the reasons you shouldn't. To speak when silence is safer. To act when overthinking feels more comfortable. To choose growth when your brain screams for safety. That's courage. Not the absence of fear, but action in the presence of it. Robbins breaks it down simply. Most people think they need to feel brave before they act, but that's backward. You act first. Then the courage comes. That's the whole point of the 5-second rule. You don't wait for confidence. You create it 5 seconds at a time. She brings in neuroscience again, reminding us that fear and hesitation live in the limbic brain, the survival part of you. It's always scanning for threats. Always looking for ways to keep you in your comfort zone. The 5-second rule interrupts that signal. It gives you just enough time to switch on the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that can make a conscious, values-driven choice. So every time you count down and move toward discomfort instead of away from it, you're building courage on a neurological level. And the impact? Massive. Robbins shares story after story from everyday people who use the rule to do things they never thought they could. Ask for help, speak on stage, leave toxic jobs, start businesses, end bad relationships, set boundaries. These aren't just inspiring anecdotes, they're proof that courage is a choice. Not a trait, not a gift, a decision. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you act with courage, the less scary life becomes. Fear shrinks. Resistance weakens. Because you start to believe in yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids or hesitates, and start becoming the person who acts anyway. She even goes further, showing how this courage spills into every area of life. Work, health, relationships, creativity. Want to speak up in meetings? Pitch your idea? Have a hard conversation? Launch a side hustle? Get back in shape? Every one of those things starts with a moment of fear and gets solved with a moment of courage. You're never going to feel ready, so stop waiting for that. It's a lie. Readiness is a trap. You act, scared, uncertain, shaking, and the readiness comes after. And it's not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming someone you respect. Courage changes how you see yourself. It rebuilds self-trust. It silences the inner critic and replaces it with evidence, real evidence, that you are stronger, bolder, and more capable than you believed. So if you're sitting there waiting for confidence to arrive, you're doing it wrong. Count it down. Move. Courage isn't found. It's chosen. And you've got 5 seconds to choose it. Chapter 10. What are you waiting for? This is the chapter where Mel Robbins stops holding your hand and starts calling you out. Lovingly, but with truth. If you've made it this far into the book, you've seen the pattern, you already have what you need. You're just waiting for something that's never going to come. Permission. Motivation. The right time. A sign. Perfect plan. Whatever it is, stop. In Chapter 10, Robbins asks the simple but brutal question. What are you waiting for? We all have something we want. Maybe it's to get in shape, fix a relationship, quit a soul-crushing job, speak up, start creating, or just stop living on autopilot. And every day that we wait, we're reinforcing a lie, the lie that we need something outside ourselves to begin. She reminds us that hesitation is not harmless. It's a decision to stay the same. Every time you hesitate, your brain gives that hesitation power. And the more power you give it, the more paralyzed you feel. So Robbins flips the script. Your new habit isn't waiting, it's launching. She urges you to stop overthinking and start doing. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for someone to approve. Don't wait to be less scared or more certain. Those moments never come. You think they will, but they don't. This is the real message of Chapter 10. You're not lacking time, knowledge, or talent. You're lacking action. And the 5-second rule, that simple countdown in physical movement, is the gateway to that action. She pulls no punches here. If you don't use it, your life will not change. Knowing about the rule won't help you. Reading this chapter won't make fear go away. Listening to someone else's success won't move your feet. Only action does that. You must do the rule. You must live the rule. Robbins offers tough love. You already know what you need to do. So do it. Today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. 5 seconds from now. What are you waiting for? Another excuse? Another reason to delay? Another round of self-doubt to run its course? Or maybe this is it. Maybe this chapter, this moment, is your line in the sand. Because the rule works. If you use it, it will change your life. You will rewire your mind, build courage, gain clarity, and finally start doing the things that matter most. So the question isn't, does it work? The real question is, will you work it? And if not now, when? Free to. 1 go. The 5-second rule by Mel Robbins is a simple yet powerful tool for taking control of your life, building confidence, and pushing through fear and hesitation. By counting backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then taking immediate action, you interrupt negative thought patterns and activate the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and momentum. This rule isn't just a motivational trick. It's backed by neuroscience and real-world results. Whether you're trying to get out of bed earlier, speak up in a meeting, start a new project, or break a bad habit, the 5-second rule gives you the push you need to move from thought to action. It's a daily practice of courage, self-trust, and reclaiming control over your choices. Mel Robbins teaches us that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, 5 seconds at a time. If you're ready to stop procrastinating, stop doubting yourself, and start living with purpose and urgency, this rule can be the life-changing habit you've been looking for. This summary was brought to you by Detailed Book Summaries. If this summary inspired you, don't forget to like, comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to our channel for more empowering book summaries on mindset, motivation, and personal development. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and start using the 5-second rule today to change your life, one decision at a time.